everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Chantal and I am the owner of Shakar Bakery. If you haven't done so by now, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to stay up to date with videos like this one. Wedding planning is often a stressful time for brides, and stress can often lead to miscommunication between customers and vendors. The best way to avoid miscommunications is to provide contracts for your customers. Contract agreements provide general guidelines for both the vendor and the customer to follow. Not only do contracts put everyone on the same page, they also make customers feel comfortable to know the vendor is also bound by the contract terms. Aside from providing comfort to the customer, contracts make your business more professional and trustworthy. So let's begin and review my contract agreement. On the very top, you see my logo here in the header, along with my business name and what the document is. I then provide an area for the customer to insert their information: the client name, the phone number, their email, the event date, the event venue, the number of servings, and if they have an event planner, I need them to give me the name and the phone number provided. On the bottom of my contracts right here, on the footer, I actually have more information so that the customer could always get in touch with me. I have my website address, my email address, and my phone number. The first point in my wedding contract is the design agreement. The customer will not be provided with hard copy cake sketches until deposit has been placed by the customer. Hard copies include taking photos with a camera of the sketch during preliminary meetings. I hold all rights to any sketches provided to the customer, and the customer agrees not to take the designs discussed to another cake or bakery business. Why is this in my contract? The reason is that in the past, I've had customers take my sketches to other cake designers who undercharged my prices so they could steal my customers. So I've learned not to provide too much of my idea to the customer before it's guaranteed that I'm going to be their vendor. So then I follow that up with, order details will be provided on your invoice. By paying the retainer, you are agreeing to all terms and descriptions on the Shakar Bakery invoice. If any design changes are desired, you will let Shakar Bakery know up to 2 weeks prior to your event. So again, on my invoice, I have all of the detailed information regarding their order. It is up to the customer to review that information and to tell me that everything is okay. If there's any error that they missed and they didn't catch in time, then it is not my responsibility and they can't come to me and blame me because my contract says that they have already agreed to all the terms and descriptions in my invoice. I next discuss non-compete agreement. This one is very straightforward. There will be no other cake vendors or related vendors at the venue if I am to be their cake vendor. This is included in the contract to protect my reputation just in case there is another cake vendor providing dessert at the event. If their dessert isn't up to par to my dessert and people are complaining about the flavor, I don't want it coming back to me. Plus, I just don't like sharing events. Like, I'm either your vendor or I'm not. There's no two cake vendors at one event. The next section is the retainer agreement. The customer here agrees to pay a non-refundable reservation fee that equals to half of the total order to reserve me as their vendor for their dates. They agree to pay my business no later than 1 week prior to the event date. You could choose whatever you want at this point. I prefer getting paid way before the actual wedding because the day of, things get really hectic. I've had wedding planners not pay me the same day because they didn't coordinate their time while I was delivering. So since I want my money, I want to make sure I get it at a peaceful rate. So 1 week prior to the event date is perfect for me and usually for the customers as well. So then over here, I followed up by writing how much the deposit actually is and what the remaining balance is. So then the customer will sign and date this part. The rental agreement just covers everything that they could possibly rent, which for me is usually cake stands. So over here I list the sizes I have, the amount I charge for rental, And then I put in a claim here that says all rentals must be returned by the customer or event coordinator within 3 days of the event. So I asked for a refundable deposit to hold on to until my items are returned to me. The customer will be charged $20 per every day thereafter until the item is returned. And then I have a loss or damage claim here where I charge them $200 if anything is lost. So if I have to end up going back to the venue to pick up the rental items and that wasn't discussed prior, then I charge a penalty fee. The delivery contract clause is the longest part of my contract, and it covers a lot of important information here. So I start off with my delivery fee, and I tell them right here that all of my cakes are to be delivered and set up at the venue. I don't allow for pickups for wedding cakes. The delivery charge, I set a different rate for 3 to 4 tiers versus 5 to 9 tiers, and I let my customer know how early I'm going to set up before their reception. So over here, I give myself a 2 to 4 hour window for delivery and setup. Now, this part is very important, and I learned from experience after I was stuck at a venue for 4 hours. I was told to go set up at 4 p.m. and I arrived to an empty venue, so I couldn't leave, and it was a waste of my time until my table was ready. So I included this into my contract where it says, it is the job of the venue or event coordinator to contact Shakar Bakery at any time delays or changes. If the venue is not ready for setup and I was not informed, there will be a 15-minute grace period upon arrival for the venue to complete setup and the cake to be delivered. After which, a penalty fee will be assessed to the customer's credit card at a rate of $100 per hour or fraction thereof. It's a very high rate, and I do it on purpose because my time is money, and everyone should follow the guidelines that were sent to vendors. So it's very important to put something like this in your contract. Then we move on that once my delivery is complete, I always take pictures of the finished cake, and I make sure to take pictures of all angles and directions. Then I tell the customer that they understand that I am not responsible for the cake after the delivery setup. Any damage caused by the venue, other vendors, event coordinators, or guests is not the bakery's responsibility. The customer agrees to communicate with the event coordinator and let them know the cake is not to be moved or modified in any way once it is set up. If the cake must be moved, Shakar Bakery must be notified while on premises. If the cake is moved after Shakar Bakery leaves the premises, customer will not hold Shakar Bakery responsible or accountable for any damages or modifications to the cake. That's very, very important because this has also happened to me, and I had no idea that the event planner moved my cake, and my customer was not too happy, but she was totally understanding once we discussed. So you want something like this in your contract as well. In bold, I have, in the event of a cake disaster, if Shakar Bakery is called for repairs, there will be a fee assessed to the customer's credit card at a rate of $100 per hour or fraction thereof. Again, the cake disaster is not your fault if someone else moved the cake, so you shouldn't be fixing it for free. The customer then understands that Shakar Bakery has provided them with a number of estimated servings for their order. Customer understands that the serving number may change depending on how the venue kitchen staff cuts the cake. Shakar Bakery will not be held responsible if all guests don't receive a serving of cake. There will be no refunds. Why is this in my contract? When I meet with customers, we discuss cake servings, and my servings are tried and true, and I know how much each of my cakes should give. So there have been times where customers have told me that not all guests have received servings. When I actually attended some of these weddings, I've seen the kitchen staff cut really large servings, which reduces the count that I gave my customers. That is not my responsibility. So that's why it's in my contract. My word is my word. What the kitchen staff does is not in my control. I added a clause about outdoor venues, and I mentioned in the event of an outdoor venue, ground conditions, weather, may affect the cake, such as unlevel or bumpy ground surfaces, heat, humidity, wind, bugs. And I also said that certain fillings or icings may not hold up due to outside conditions. The customer is aware of the risk and will not hold Shakar Bakery responsible for any cake damage. Again, Them deciding to have a wedding outdoors is not your responsibility. You are just providing the cake. Of course, you have to let them know what the risks are with an outdoor wedding. The customer agrees to pay for any vendor parking fees imposed by the venue. Parking fees must be included in the final payment. The customer must always provide the maximum fee the venue or lot imposes. It is not your responsibility to pay for these parking fees. The customer must pay you. So I put this in here since I, again, encountered those a couple of times in my experience. The final part of my contract involves disclaimers. So these are things that I want the customer to know from my end. So number one is reminding them about the non-refundable reservation fee, where I let them know that I want half and then the remaining balance is due 1 week prior to delivery date, and any changes to their order must be made at the most 2 weeks prior to delivery date. If the order is canceled for any reason, the reservation fee will not be refunded. So I reiterate this many times to my customers. Then I discuss fresh flower arrangements on the cakes. That is the responsibility of the florist and not of the bakery. So flower and food safety does not come on my end. I try to do my best when I insert the flowers in the cake to protect the cake from the flowers. But if there's any bugs or any moisture or wilted flowers, that is not my responsibility. That is the florist's fault. So then I discuss colors. Gray, blue, purple, and black are colors that are never guaranteed to hold. They tend to fade, especially if the sun is hitting them. So I just let customers know there's a chance that these colors may fade or bleed into surrounding colors or frostings, especially if it's outdoors. So then the most important is allergies. And I put right here that I work in a mixed-use kitchen, so items have come in contact with eggs, nuts, milk, or wheat products. So if there's any high allergic or a high allergy from the customer, they must let me know so that I could handle things a little bit differently in my kitchen. So then I follow it up with car accidents and road conditions. In case of unavoidable occurrences such as a car accident, Shakar Bakery will not be held reliable for more than the cost of the cake or items described in this order. This means that they cannot sue me for double what they paid me. They could only get back whatever they had paid me. The client will provide Shakar Bakery with accurate driving directions to the venue and will inform of any all known road hazards, especially steep inclines. Then all tables and linen will be provided by the client. That's usually the venue, but the client is the one that handles that. And then lastly, the client is aware Shakar Bakery uses chocolate ganache underneath the fondant and knows that ganache hardens into shell. Shakar Bakery is not responsible for any difficulties associated cutting into the cake tiers. I have that because a few people have complained that my cakes are a little bit more difficult to cut into. So I just have that in the contract to cover any future complaints. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this video was beneficial to you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will reply. Please subscribe to my channel and most importantly, share this video with whoever you think will benefit from it. Thanks, and until next time.